Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyatha Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vidam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Om Jnana Timaranda Shakanajana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasma Shri Gurave Namah Gaurava Bhishnam Supurakam Guraganara Sesha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Veda Nipunam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Vidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwagurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Prem Noi Bija Pradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavaranam Balarka Chilanshitam Sandrananda Puram Sarika Varanam Vairagya Vidyam Buddhim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyashishwara Shridaram Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. So reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna das Kaviraj Goswami. Translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Antya-lila, chapter 5, how Pradyumna Mishra received instructions from Srila Ramananda Raya. Vaigunya Gita Kalita Paishunya. Huh? Huh?
¿Cuál verso?
El primer verso. Okay. Vaigunya Kita Kalita Paishunya Brana Pidita Dainyar Nave Nimagnoham Chaitanya Vaidyam Ashraya. I am infected by the germs of material activity and am suffering from the boils of envy. Therefore, falling in an ocean of humility, I take shelter of the great physician, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, very interesting verse. Vaigunya Kita Kalita Paishunya Brana Pidita Danyarnave Nimagnoham Chaitanya Vaidyam Ashraye. I am infected by the germs of material activity and am suffering from the boils of envy. Therefore, falling in an ocean of humility, I take shelter of the great physician, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Jaya Sachi Sutta Sri Krishna Chaitanya Jaya Jaya Kripa Moy Nityananda Danya. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the son of Mother Sachi. All glories to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Indeed, he is the most glorious and merciful. Jaya Dvaita Kripa Sindhu Jaya Bhaktagan Jaya Swarup Gadadhar Rupa Sanatan. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Advaita Acharya, the ocean of mercy, and to all the devotees such as Swarup Damodar, Gadadhar Pandit, Sri Rupa Goswami, and Sri Sanatan Goswami. Ek din Pradyumna Mishra Prabhura Charane Dandavat Kori Kichu Kori Nivedane. One day Pradyumna Mishra came to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, offering his respects and inquiring from him with great submission. Shuna Prabhu Muedina Grihasta Arama Konbage Payachon Tomara Durlabha Charan. My Lord, he said, kindly hear me. I am a cripple-minded householder, the most fallen of men, but somehow by my good fortune I have received the shelter of your lotus feet, which are rarely to be seen. Krishna-katha shunibare mora icha hoy. Krishna-katha kahamore hoya sadoy. I wish to hear topics concerning Lord Krishna constantly. Be merciful unto me and kindly tell me something about Krishna. Prabhu Kohan Krishna-katha Amina Hijani Sabe Ramananda Jane Tara Muke Shuni. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, I do not know about topics concerning Lord Krishna. I think that only Ramananda Roy knows, for I hear these topics from him. Bhagye Tomara Krishna-katha Shunite Hoiman Ramananda Pashajai Koraha Shravan. It is your good fortune that you are inclined to hear topics regarding Krishna. The best course for you would be to go to Ramananda Roy and hear these topics from him. It's your good fortune that you want to hear Krishna-katha. So the best place to hear Krishna-katha is from Ramananda Roy. I myself hear from him. Krishna-katha, Krishna-kathaya, Ruchi Tomar, Bora Bhagyavan, Jara Krishna-kathaya, Ruchi Se Bhagyavan. I see that you have acquired a taste for hearing talks regarding Krishna. Therefore, you are extremely fortunate. Not only you, but anyone who has awakened such a taste is considered most fortunate. Dharmas Svanushtita Pumsam Vishvaksena Katasunyaha Notparayed Yadiratim Shrama Eva Kevalam. A person who properly performs his regulative duties according to Varna and Ashrama, but does not develop his dormant attachment for Krishna or awaken his taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna, is certainly laboring fruitlessly. And so, Shrama Evi Kevalam, one who does all the rites of Varnashram Dharma perfectly, but doesn't want to hear talks about Krishna, is Shrama Evi Kevalam, is working uselessly. All his endeavors have no sense, they have no fruit. Tabe Pradyumna Mishra Gela Ramananda Rastane Rayera Sevaka Tare Vashaila Ashane. Pradyumna Mishra, being thus advised by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, went to the home of Ramananda Roy. There the servant of Ramananda Roy gave him a proper place to sit down. Darshananapaya Mishra Sevake Puchila Rayara Britanta Sevak Kohite Lagila. Unable to see Ramananda Roy immediately, Pradyumna Mishra inquired from the servant, who then described what Sri Ramananda Roy was doing. Dui Deva Kanya Hoy Paramasundari Nritya Gite Shunipuna Vayase Kishari. There are two dancing girls who are extremely beautiful. They are very youthful and they are expert in dancing and singing. Say Due Loya Rai Nibrita Ujjane Nijanata Giter Shikaya Nartane. Sedu he loya raya nibrita ujjane nijanatak gitara shekaya nartane. Srila Ramananda Raya has taken these two girls to a solitary place in his garden, where he is teaching and directing them to dance according to the songs he has composed for his drama. The drama being rehearsed by Ramananda Raya and the two young girls was the well-known Jagannath Vallabha Nataka. The songs and dances were meant for the pleasure of Lord Jagannath. Therefore, Ramananda Raya was personally giving instructions on how to sing and dance for the drama. Tumi han bashi raha kaneke ashiben tabe se agyadeo se koribena. Please sit down and wait for a few minutes. As soon as he comes, he will do whatever order you give him. He will execute whatever order you give him. Tabe Pradyumna Mishra Tahan Rohila Mashia Ramananda Nibrite Se Dui Janad Loya. While Pradyumna Mishra remained seated there, Ramananda Roy took the two girls to a solitary place. Swahaste Koranatara Abhyanga Mardan Swahaste Karanasnan Gatra Samarjan. With his own hand, Sri Ramananda Roy massaged their bodies with oil and bathed them with water. Indeed, Ramananda Roy cleansed their entire bodies with his own hand. Swahaste Paranam Bastra Sarvanga Mandan Tabu Nirvikara Rai Ramananda Raman. Although he dressed the two young girls and decorated their bodies with his own hand, he remained unchanged. Such is the mind of Srila Ramananda Roy. Kashta Pashana Sparshe Hoy Jaiche Bab Taruni Sparshe Ramanandere Taiche Swabab. While touching the young girls, he was like a person touching wood or stone, for his body and mind were unaffected. Sevya Buddhi Aropia Korana Sevan Sabhavika Dashi Baba Korana Aropan. Srila Ramananda Roy used to act in that way because he thought of himself in his original position as a maidservant of the gopis. Thus, although externally he appeared to be a man, internally in his original spiritual position, he considered himself a maidservant and considered the two girls gopis. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya, Srila Ramananda Roy composed a drama named Jagannath Vallabha Nataka, and he engaged two young girls who were professional dancers and singers to demonstrate the ideology of the drama. Such girls, who are called Devadasis, are still employed in the Jagannath temple, where they are called Maharis. Ramananda Roy engaged two such girls, and because they were to play the parts of gopis, he taught them how to awaken thoughts like those of the gopis. Because the gopis are worshipable personalities, Ramananda Roy, who considered the two girls gopis and himself their maidservant, engaged in their service by massaging their bodies with oil to cleanse them completely. Because Ramananda Roy always placed himself in the position of a maidservant of the gopis, his rehearsal with the girls was actually on the spiritual platform. Because there was no question of personal sense gratification when Sri Ramananda Roy was serving the girls, his mind was steady and his body untransformed. This is not to be imitated, nor is such a mentality possible for anyone but Sri Ramananda Roy, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will explain. The example of Sri Ramananda Roy is certainly unique. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita has given this description because in perfect devotional service one can attain such a position. Nevertheless, one must understand this subject very seriously and never attempt to imitate such activities. Mahaprabhu Bhakta Ganer Durgama Mahima Tahe Ramanander Baba Bhakti Prema Sima. The greatness of the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is exceedingly difficult to understand. Sri Ramananda Roy is unique among them all, for he showed how one can extend his ecstatic love to the extreme limit. Tabe se duijane nritya shikaila gitara guda arta abhinoy koraila. Ramananda Roy directed the two girls how to dance and express the deep meaning of his songs through through dramatic performances. Sanchari Satvika Stai Bhavera Lakan Mukhe Netre Abhinoy Kore Prakatan. He taught them how to express the symptoms of continuous, natural, and transitional ecstasies with the movements of their faces, their eyes, and the other parts of their bodies. Bhava Prakatana Lasharai Jeshikaya Jagannathera Ageduhe Prakata Dekaya. Through the feminine poses and dances they were taught by Ramananda Raya, the two girls precisely exhibited all these expressions of ecstasy before Lord Jagannath. Tabise dui jane prashada kao jaila, nibrite du hare nija gare pataila. Then Ramananda Raya fed the two girls sumptuous prasadam and sent them to their homes unexposed. Pratidina Raya Aiche Koraya Sadan Konjane Kudra Jiva Kahataraman. Every day he trained the two Devadasis how to dance, who among the small living entities, their minds always absorbed in material sense gratification, could understand the mentality of Sri Ramananda Raya. Ramananda Raya's service to the gopis for the satisfaction of Krishna is purely an affair of the spiritual world. Unless one is fully situated in this spiritual atmosphere, the activities of Ramananda Raya are most difficult to understand. Mishra Ragamana Raya Sevaka Kohila Shigra Ramananda Tabe Sabate Aila. When the servant informed Ramananda Raya of Pradyumna Mishra's arrival, Ramananda Raya immediately went to the assembly room. Mishra re namaskara kore samana korea nivedana kore kichu binita hoya. He offered his obeisances to Pradyumna Mishra with all respect and then with great humility spoke as follows. Bahukanaila more kehona kohila tomara charane mora aparad hoila. Sir, you came here long ago, but no one informed me. Therefore, I have certainly become an offender at your lotus feet. Tomara agamane mora pavitra hoilagar. Agyakora kya karun tomara kinkar. My entire home has been purified by your arrival. Kindly order me. What can I do for you? I am your servant. Mishra kohe toma dekite hoila agamane. Apana pavitra koilun tomara darshane. Pradyumna Mishra replied, I came simply to see you. Now I have purified myself by seeing your honor. Atikala deki Mishra kichuna kohila vidai hoya Mishra nija garagela. Because Pradyumna Mishra saw that it was late, he did not say anything else to Ramananda Raya. Instead, he took leave of him and returned to his own home. Aradin Mishraila Prabhu Vidyamane. Aradin Mishraila Prabhu Vidyamane. Prabhu Kohe Krishna-katha Shunila Rayastane. The next day when Pradyumna Mishra arrived in the presence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord inquired, have you heard talks about Krishna from Sri Ramananda Raya? Tabi Mishra Ramanander Britanta Kohila Shuni Mahaprabhu Tabe Kohite Lagila. Pradyumna Mishra thereupon described the activities of Sri Ramananda Raya. After hearing about these activities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to speak. Amita sannyasi apanare virakta korimani darshana rahudure prakritira namajadishuni tabahin vikarapai moratanuman prakriti darshani darshane stira hoy konjan. I'm a sannyasi, he said, and I certainly consider myself renounced. But what to speak of seeing a woman? If I even hear the name of a woman, I feel changes in my body and mind. Therefore, who could remain unmoved by the sight of a woman? It is very difficult. Ramananda Raya Kata Shuna Sarvajan Kahibara Kata Nahe Jaha Ascharya Katan. Everyone please hear these topics about Ramananda Raya, although they are so wonderful and uncommon that they should not be spoken. Eke Devadasi Ara Sundare Taruni Tarasab Anga Seva Korana Apani. The two professional dancing girls are beautiful and youthful, yet Sri Ramananda Raya personally massages their entire bodies with oil. Snanadi Koraya Paraya Vasha Vibhushan Guya Angera Hoy Taha Darshana Sparshan. He personally bathes and dresses them and decorates them with ornaments. In this way, he naturally sees and touches the private parts of their bodies. Tabu Nirvikara Raya Ramananda Raman Nana Babudgara Tare Koraye Shikan. Nevertheless, the mind of Sri Ramananda Raya never changes, although he touches the girls. Nevertheless, the mind of Sri Ramananda Raya never changes, although he teaches the girls how to physically express all the transformations of ecstasy. Nirvikara dehom man kashtapashanasam Ascharya Taruni Sparshe Nirvikaraman. His mind is as steady as wood or stone. Indeed, it is wonderful that even when he touches such young girls, his mind never changes. Ek Ramananda hoy e adikar tate jani aprakrita deho tahar. The authority for such acts is the prerogative of Ramananda Raya alone, for I can understand that his body is not material, but has been completely transformed into a spiritual unity. Taharamanera bhava teho jane matra, taha jani bariyar dvitiya nahi patra. He alone and no one else can understand the position of his mind. Kintu shastra drishtye ek kore anuman, Sri Bhagavata Shastra tahate Brahman. But I can make a guess in terms of directions from the Shastra. The Vedic scripture Srimad Bhagavatam gives the direct evidence in this matter. Brajabadu Sange Krishnera Rasade Bilas Jai Janako Heshune Korea Vishwas Ridroga Kamatara Tat Kale Hoy Koi Tinaguna Kobanahe Mahadira Hoy. When one hears or describes with great faith the pastimes of Lord Krishna, such as his rasa dance with the gopis, the disease of lusty desires in his heart, and the agitation caused by the three modes of material nature are immediately nullified, and he becomes sober and silent. Brajabadu Sange Krishnera Rasadi Vilas Jai Janako Heshune Kore Koreya Vishwas Ridrog Kama Tara Tatkale Hoi Koi Tina Guna Kobam Nahe Mahadira Hoi. When one hears or describes with great faith the pastimes of Lord Krishna, such as his rasa dance with the gopis, the disease of lusty desires in his heart, and the agitation caused by the three modes of material nature are immediately nullified, and he becomes sober and silent. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments in this connection. Any person seriously inclined to hear about the pastimes of Krishna's rasa dance, as mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, with great faith and a transcendental, spiritually inspired mind, is immediately freed from the natural lusty desires found within the heart of a materialistic man. When a pure Vaishnava speaks on Srimad Bhagavatam and another pure Vaishnava hears Srimad Bhagavatam from such a realized soul, both of them live in the transcendental world where the contamination of the modes of material nature cannot touch them. Freed from the contamination of the modes of nature, the speaker and hearer are fixed in a transcendental mentality, knowing that their position on the transcendental platform is to serve the Supreme Lord. The class of men known as Prakriti Sahajas, who consider the transcendental position of Lord Krishna something like the behavior between a man and a woman in the material field, artificially think that hearing the rasa-lila will help them by diminishing the lusty desires of their diseased hearts. But because they do not follow the regulative principles, but instead violate even ordinary morals, their contemplation of rasa-lila is a futile attempt, which sometimes results in their imitating the dealings of the gopis and Lord Krishna. To forbid such habits of the Prakriti Sahajas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has excluded their material intelligence by using the word Vishvasa, faith. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Sukadeva Goswami says, Naitat samacharij jatu manasadi I anishvara vinashat yacharan modyad yata rudrod dijam visham. Certainly one who is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead should never, even within his mind, imitate the activities of the transcendental rasa-lila of Krishna. If out of ignorance one does so, he will be destroyed, just as if he were to imitate Lord Shiva, who drank poison produced from the ocean. So the idea is one should not imitate the activities of the Ishvara, of the Lord, of great persons like the Lord, like Lord Shiva. One cannot imitate them. Prakriti Sahajas do so, and they're paving their way to hell by their mentality. Ujjvala madhura prema bhakti se pai, anande Krishna madhurye vihare sadai. Taking transcendental effulgent, sweetly ecstatic, tasting transcendental effulgent, sweetly ecstatic love of Krishna, such a person can enjoy life 24 hours a day in the transcendental bliss of the sweetness of Krishna's pastimes. Vikriditam Raja Vadubir Idam Shavishno Shradavito Nushrinuyad Atta Varnayedya Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labhyakanam Ridrog Ashvapa Hinoti Achirena Dira Vikriditam Rajavadubir Idam Shavishno Shradhanvito Nushrinuyadata Varnayedya Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Prati Labhyakamam Ridrogam Ashvapahinoti Achirena Dira. A transcendentally sober person who with faith and love continuously hears from a realized soul about the activities of Lord Krishna in his rasa dance with the gopis, or one who describes such activities, can attain full transcendental devotional service at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, lusty material desires, which are the heart disease of all materialistic persons, are for him quickly and completely vanquished. All the activities of Lord Krishna are transcendental, and the gopis are also transcendentally situated. Therefore, the activities of the gopis and Lord Krishna, if seriously understood, will certainly free one from material attachment. Then there is no possibility that lusty desires will awaken. Jai shune jai pare tarafala etadrishi se bababishta jai seve aharnishi. If a transcendentally situated person following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami hears and speaks about the Rasa Lila dance of Krishna and is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna while serving the Lord day and night within his mind, what shall I say about the result? It is so spiritually exalted that it cannot be expressed in words. Such a person is an eternally liberated associate of the Lord, and his body is completely spiritualized. Although he is visible to material eyes, he is spiritually situated, and all his activities are spiritual. By the will of Krishna, such a devotee is understood to possess a spiritual body. If a transcendentally situated person following in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami hears and speaks about the Rasa Lila dance of Krishna and is always absorbed in thoughts of Krishna while serving the Lord day and night within his mind, what shall I say about the result? It is so spiritually exalted that it cannot be expressed in words. Such a person is an eternally liberated associate of the Lord, and his body is completely spiritualized. Although he is visible to material eyes, he is spiritually situated, and all his activities are spiritual by the will of Krishna. Such a devotee is understood to possess a spiritual body. Raganuga marge jani raya rabajan Siradeho tuyatate prakrita nahiman. Srila Ramananda Raya is situated on the path of spontaneous love of God. Therefore, he is in his spiritual body and his mind is not materially affected. Amiya Rayarastani Shuni Krishna-katha Shunite Icha Hoy Jadi Puna Jahatata. I also hear topics about Krishna from Ramananda Roy. If you want to hear such topics, go to him again. Moranama loya teho pataila more. Tomarastane Krishna-katha shuni bharatare. You can mention my name before him, saying, he has sent me to hear about Lord Krishna from you. Shigrajaha jabateho achena sabate eta shuni pradyumna mishra chalila turite. Shigrajaha jabateho achena sabate etashuni pradyumna mishra chalila turite. Go hastily while he is in the assembly room. Hearing this, Pradyumna Mishra immediately departed. Raya pashagila raya pranati korila agyakora jailagi agamana hoila. Pradyumna Mishra went to Ramananda Raya, who offered him respectful obeisances and said, please order me, for what purpose have you come? Mishra kohe Mahaprabhu pataila more tomara stani Krishna-katha shuni bharatare. Pradyumna Mishra answered, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has sent me to hear topics about Lord Krishna from you. Shuni Ramananda Raya hoila prema beshe kohila lagila kechu manera harishe. Hearing this, Ramananda Raya became absorbed in ecstatic love and began to speak with transcendental pleasure. Shuni Ramananda Raya hoila primaveshe kohite lagila kechu manera harishe. Hearing this, Ramananda Raya became absorbed in ecstatic love and began to speak with great transcendental pleasure. Prabora agyaya Krishna-katha shunite aila eta iha bai mahabhagya amipab kota. Following the instructions of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you have come to hear about Krishna. This is my great fortune. How else would I get such an opportunity? Etako hetare loya nibrite basila ki gata shunite chaha mishrere puchila. Saying this, Sri Ramananda Raya took Pradyumna Mishra to a secluded place and inquired from him, what kind of Krishna-katha do you want to hear from me? Tehoko he jay kohila vidyanagare sekata krame tumi kohiba amare. Pradyumna Mishra replied, kindly tell me about the same topics you spoke about at Vidyanagar when Mahaprabhu went to visit Ramananda Raya by the Godavari River. Anera ki kata tumi Prabhu Rupa deshta amita bhikuka bipra tumi mora posta. You are an instructor even for Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu what to speak of others. I am but a beggar Brahmin, and you are my maintainer. Balomanda kichu ami puchite najani dina deki kripa kori kohiba apani. I do not know how to inquire, for I do not know what is good and what is bad. Seeing me to be poor in knowledge, kindly speak whatever is good for me by your own good will. Tabe Ramananda krame kohite lagila Krishna-katha rasamrita sindhu utaila. Thereupon Ramananda Raya gradually began speaking on topics of Krishna. Thus the ocean of the transcendental mellows of those topics became agitated. Krishna-katha rasamrita sindhu. The Krishna-katha rasamrita, the nectar of Krishna-katha ras, that ocean, became agitated. Thereupon, Ramananda Raya gradually began speaking on topics of Krishna. Thus the ocean of the transcendental mellows of those topics became agitated. Apane prashna kore pache korana siddhanta tritiya prabhara hoila nahikata anta. He began personally posing questions and then answering them with conclusive statements. When afternoon came, the topic still did not end. Bhakta Shrota Kohe Shune Dohe Prema Veste Atma Smrita Nahi Kahan Janiya Dina Seshe. The speaker and the listener spoke and heard in ecstatic love. Thus they forgot their bodily consciousness. How then could they perceive the end of the day? Bhakta Shrota Kohe Shune Duhe Prima Veshe Atma Smriti Nahi Kahan Shuniba Dina Seshe. Speaker and listener spoke and heard in ecstatic love. Thus they forgot their bodily consciousness. How then could they perceive the end of the day? Seva Kohila Dina Hoila Abasan Tabe Krishna-katha Katara Korila Vishram Aneka Kohila Din Hoila Anasan Sevaka Kohila Dina Hoila Abasan Tabe Krishna-katha Korila Vishram. The servant informed them, the day has already ended. Then Ramananda Raya ended his discourses about Krishna. Bahu Samana Kore Mishre Vidaydila Kritarta Hoilana Boli Mishra Nachite Lagila. Ramananda Raya paid great respect to Pradyumna Mishra and bade him farewell. Pradyumna Mishra said, I have become very satisfied. He then began to dance. Garagiya Mishra Koila Snan Bojan Sanjakali Dekite Aila Prabhura Charan. After returning home, Pradyumna Mishra bathed and ate his meal. In the evening, he came to see the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pradyumna Charana Bande Ulasita Mane Prabhu Kohe Krishna-katha Hoila Shravane. In great happiness, he worshipped the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord inquired, have you heard topics about Krishna? Mishra Kohe Prabhu More Kritarta Korila Krishna-katamritarnave Mora Dubaila. Pradyumna Mishra said, my dear Lord, you have made me extremely obliged to you because you have drowned me in a nectarian ocean of talks about Krishna. Ramananda Raya Kata Kohila Nahoy Manusha Nahirai Krishna Bhakti Rasamoy. I cannot personally describe the discourses of Ramananda Raya, for he is not an ordinary human being. He is fully absorbed in the devotional service of the Lord. One is forbidden to accept the guru or spiritual master as an ordinary human being. Guru Shu Naramati. When Ramananda Raya spoke to Pradyumna Mishra could understand that Ramananda Raya was not an ordinary human being, a spiritually advanced person who was authorized to act as the spiritual master speaks as the Supreme Personality of Godhead dictates from within. Thus, it is not he that is personally speaking. In other words, When a pure devotee or spiritual master speaks, what he says should be accepted as having been directly spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Parampara system. Ara ekata rai kohila amare, Krishna-katha vakta kore na janiya more. There's one other thing Ramananda Raya said to me. Do not consider me the speaker in these talks about Krishna. Moramuke kata kohen apane gorachandra jaiche shah jaiche kahaya taiche kohi jena bina jandra moramuke kata kohen apane gorachandra jaiche kahai taiche kohi jena bina jandra. Whatever I speak is personally spoken by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like a stringed instrument, I vibrate whatever he causes me to speak. So there is one other thing Ramananda Raya said to me. Do not consider me the speaker in these talks about Krishna. Whatever I speak is personally spoken by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like a stringed instrument, I vibrate whatever he causes me to speak. Moramuke kahai kata kore parachar prativite ke shanibe e lilatahar. In this way, the Lord speaks through my mouth to preach the cult of Krishna consciousness. Within the world, who will understand the pastimes of the Lord, of the Lords? Jai Shab Shuniland, Shunilun Krishna Rasara Sagar Brahmadi Devere Sab Nahoi Gochar. What I have heard from Ramananda Raya is like a nectarian ocean of discourses about Krishna. Even the demigods, beginning with Lord Brahma, cannot understand all these topics. So I'm going to stop here. Tomorrow I will continue. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Giridhari Gopinatha Marana Mohan Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan H.I. Gosai Kori Charana Bandhan Jaoite Vignana Shabishta Puran Jaoite Vignana Shabishta Puran H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas H.I. Gosai Jar Mui Taradas Tasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tasabar Padarenu Mora Panchagras Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas Janame Janame More Abilas Janame Janame More Abilas, H.I. Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas, H.I. Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas, Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash, Radha Krishna Antya-lila Korila Prakash, Anande Bolo Haribhaja Vrindavan, Anande Bolo Haribhaja Vrindavan, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majjayaman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Majjayaman, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryash, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryash, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Shri Guru Charana Padme, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koryas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamudas, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupa Nuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopal Bhattadash Raghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Premsiko Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudhi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Srila Krishna das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat Ki Jai. Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vishvavarenya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Ram Mayapur Ki Jai. Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Saparshada Shriman Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. Shri Kuladvip Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat Ki Jai. Sokel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram Ki Jai. Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gopi Govardhan Sham Kuna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Jo Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.